This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Don't buy the wrong bike. If you're not racing, don't buy a race bike. If you're not riding off-road, don't buy a gravel bike. The best bike if you want speed and comfort is, in my opinion, an endurance road bike. But which is the right endurance bike for you? Well, in this video I share some of my favourites across a range of categories. Endurance bikes follow a similar format of more relaxed geometry and fit than a race bike, so more upright handlebar position and not quite as aggressive and slammed, and usually a longer wheelbase and slacker angles for more stability when riding at any speed, so not quite as twitchy as a race bike. But they're not all the same. They do vary a lot. Some are closer to a race bike and some are closer to a gravel bike. Some have more features for versatility and some have bigger tire clones, and some have down tube storage and some don't. So I try and highlight the differences between the bikes and why one might appeal to you more than the other, depending on what you're looking for on a bike and what your personal preference is. So I'll put links to all the bikes down below if you want to skip ahead. But let's start with a bike that I think is the smoothest, most comfortable road bike you can buy right now, the Specialized Roubaix SL8. So there are three key features on the Roubaix that for me deliver a smooth ride. Firstly, the feature shock, the spring inside the head tube, which isolates the handlebar and therefore your upper body from all the bumps and vibrations that normally lead to a bumpy, jarring ride. And it's not a gimmick, it really does work, and you can now tune it and turn it on and off too. Then for your bum and your lower back, the seat post is allowed to flex a lot inside the large seat tube. And then lastly, we have space for 40mm wide tyres, which is a key trend on endurance bikes in 2025. And then the other key feature that makes the Roubaix so comfortable is the geometry and the fit, which is definitely one of the most relaxed in this video. So quite a high handlebar position, quite short as well, a long way from the aggressive slam position of a race bike. And all that combined creates a bike that simply floats along the worst road you might want to ride a bike along. Really is very comfortable indeed. Next up, the giant Defy, which is one of the best value endurance bikes you can buy, but also one of the best riding bikes, and definitely a sportier ride than the Roubaix. It's available in three levels: Advanced, Advanced Pro and Advanced SL, but for me the Advanced Pro is the sweet spot in the range in terms of the weight and features available on that frame set and the bikes in that price point. The reason I like the Defy is the fit is a bit closer to a race bike, more relaxed than a race bike, but not quite as upright and short as the Roubaix. So somewhere between the two extremes. And if you are coming from a race bike, the Defy does feel more familiar than the Roubaix by comparison. And I quite like that sort of sporty fit, reasonably stretched, not too high at the front, but getting the benefits of the Defy technology, which is their D-shaped handlebar and seat post, which allows those components to flex when you encounter a bump or hole in the road. And being giant, the value for money is really good as well. So you get a lot of bike for your money, good group sets, carbon fiber wheels from Giant's own SLR range and Cadex higher up, good finishing parts as well, and available at dealers and shops all around the world and wherever you live. So an easy pick. So Roubaix, more comfort focused, a bit more upright. Defy, a bit firmer riding, not quite as smooth, but a slightly racier, sportier fit. And then the best money no object endurance road bike is for me the Enve Fray. I've ridden this new bike on two occasions. Firstly in Tour of Flanders, my favourite sport team in the entire world, with all the cobbles, which is a really good test for any road bike, and especially the Enve Fray. And then a big ride from San Francisco down to Monterey last year, which was an epic day out on a bike. I'll link to those videos up above and down below in case you missed it. And the Enve Fray is a fantastic endurance bike and ticking a lot of boxes, to use that cliche. It's also a very sleek, fast, aero looking bike and inherits lots of the tube profiles and aero benefits from the Melee Enve's race bike. So a bike that's fast as it looks, and probably faster than a Roubaix and Defy. In my experience, in my hands, full internal routing. We have down tube storage, which is a feature I really like to keep all your tools and spare parts inside a frame, away from the elements, mud and rain and stuff. Still have space for 40mm wide tyres, and we still have fender mudguard mounts as well. But not a cheap bike at all. You can buy an entire giant Defy for the same price as the Enve Fray frame set. And performance isn't loads better, but it is very good indeed. So if you get a nice bonus from work or you win the lottery, the Enve Fray is a bike I would happily recommend and happily choose. Right, let's take a quick break from those bikes for me to tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you need a brand new website in 2025 for any purpose, Squarespace is a platform that makes it easy, quick and affordable. If you're on a bike shop, you want an online e-commerce solution with quick and easy payments, Squarespace can do that. If you're a cycling photographer and want to share photos with a gallery online, you can do that with Squarespace. If you want to run and manage a newsletter, you can do that as well. There is a solution for every requirement on Squarespace. You can either choose a template, and there are some amazing, beautiful templates to choose from, and then customize the layout, the colors, add images, videos, change the text, add different sections for different purposes. Very easy with a drag and drop interface, or if you prefer, AI will do the hard work for you. And you find out for yourself just how good it is with a free trial right now, linked down below in the description of today's video. And if you do enjoy it, and I'm sure you will, then a 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain with my code on screen right now. Right, back to the bikes. Now, while carbon fiber is the best material for building a road bike, it's lightweight, it's stiff, you can easily tune the carbon layout to offer amazing ride comfort, and you can make it as aero as you want or don't want. There are other choices, namely metal bikes, and there are two that are definitely worth considering if you don't want carbon and you want something a bit different and a bit unique. So first up, a steel bike from UK brand Fairlight Cycles with version 4 of their Strael, featuring a Reynolds 853 mainframe and some of the most elegant details I've ever seen on any road bike. The way they shape the rear stays for maximum clearance and compliance, the inserts for the brake mount and the dropouts and all the modular cable ports here and there on the frame just looks pretty, looks so nice, available in a range of colours that look fantastic as well. And I always like the slender tube profiles and dimensions of a steel bike, not a big fat aero carbon shape you get on so many road bikes these days. And I also like the fact that Fairlight offers each size in two stack options, a regular, so shorter, and a tall, which is taller. So you can have the 56 tall or regular if you want, and that's a really smart thing. It's beyond me why more bike brands don't offer such a simple solution to allow people to get a sort of a semi-custom fit, because normally if you want lower or higher stack, you have to go down or up a frame size and then compromise your reach by going to a longer or shorter stem. But Fairlight get around that by offering two stack heights. So really smart, very clever, and shows their attention to detail, not only the frame design and all the features on it, but also ensuring people fit the bike as well as they should do. And everybody should be able to fit onto a bike perfectly without going down the bespoke route. And the Strael has loads of mounts for mudguards and fenders. There's a good 4-season road bike and tyre clearance up to 36mm, which is not as generous as a 40 on some other endurance road bikes. But if you want more clearance, you could go up to their Sika, the gravel bike, which is essentially the same bike but a slight geometry modification, longer wheelbase for the bigger tyre clearance, and a bike that would take a bigger tyre with or without mudguards and still rides really well. Although it's labelled as a gravel bike, it doesn't mean it's not a bad road bike, because gravel bikes are essentially just road bikes with big tyre clearance, aren't they really? So the Sika is an option if you want a big tyre endurance road bike, and I've used my personal Sika for many big 300km all-dax rides in the past with slick tyre fitted, and felt no compromise given its label as a gravel bike. So steel is one option, but if you have a bit more money or you really fancy treating yourself, then titanium is a good choice for an endurance road bike, especially a 4-season bike for riding in crappy weather, namely UK winters. And the J.Laverack R.Jack is a road bike that launched back in 2015, and I've ridden it in various configurations over the years and did a long-term test on it 2 or 3 years ago. And it's a good example of a titanium 4-season endurance road bike. And the benefit of titanium over steel is it doesn't rust. There's no corrosion issues to worry about. It looks fantastic in the timeless colour of titanium, that sort of grey stealth finish it's offered in, or you can go for polish or painted if you want, if you're controversial perhaps. And then it's lighter than steel, but not quite as light as carbon fibre. And in my experience, although material isn't everything when it comes to ride quality, it's the geometry, the tube profiles, the wall thickness, how it's all put together. Every titanium bike I've ever ridden always has a bit more energy, a bit more liveliness than a steel bike, a bit more get up and go, and a bit more comparable to a good carbon bike. And that's a good example of a titanium bike. There are others out there, of course. There's Firefly, there's Enigma, there's Moose as well, so plenty of options. They're all very good, but the J.Laverack is one I've ridden most recently and had a long experience of riding that bike, and one I would happily recommend. This endurance category of road bikes is interesting right now because it's changing quite a lot. And one of the most exciting bikes for me that sort of represents the riding that lots of us actually do, and isn't an obvious endurance road bike, perhaps more all-road or just a road bike really, it's a FiftyOne Sika, the first off-the-shelf road bike from the Dublin-based brand that have been making bespoke carbon frames for the last 10 years. I've been riding one long-term for the last 6 months, and it's a bike that blew me away. And what I like about it is it has space for wide tyres up to 40mm, the same as the Giant Defy, the Enve Fray and the Roubaix SL8. And the geometry is more laid back than a race bike, but not really the typical endurance bike of high stack and short reach. So somewhere between the two, along the lines of the Giant Defy, I guess, in terms of being quite sporty, really. Sporty is the right word for it. It still feels like a race bike, really, and it's also lightweight. The frame is about 700 grams, and my build with SRAM Red, very top-end build I know, is 7 kilos on the nose, as light as a Tarmac SL8 race bike. So race bike light, plenty of stiffness for sprinting. The geometry that's sporty rather than sit up and beg, but not too racy for long distance rides. And I've done some big rides on that down to my parents in Devon with a light bike packing setup, and it looked after me, and it was a joy to ride as well. So that bike represents an interesting movement by some bike brands to build road bikes that offer a bit of everything in terms of raciness and comfort for endurance bikes, but aren't neatly defined by sort of conventional endurance bike labels. A bike that does come with the all-road tag, that sort of grey area between road bikes and gravel bikes, neither nor, but could do both, a bit of tarmac and a bit of dirt road, is a Fara all-road. I rode it last year or year before, and a bike that really impressed. Like many other bikes in this video, the fit is more relaxed, so slightly higher stack and shorter reach, but not too high. It's still quite a racy fit. Space of wide tyres, lots of versatility built into it, and their own really neat, clever frame bag system. So ideal for any ultra distance on mostly road surfaces, maybe some pavé and light dirt. You're doing audaxing, doing modern touring, whatever you might call it. This is a bike built for long distance, and quite happy if you do come across a dirt road or gravel track, you won't be out of place with a nice wide tyre on that bike. Another contender is the BMC Roadmachine. This is a Swiss company's endurance road bike, and last year got a good update, so now definitely in line with where endurance bikes need to be, in my opinion, in 2025. Namely, having space of 40mm wide tyres, giving you plenty of scope to fit the tyres you want. It also has down tube storage like the Enve Fray, which is a clever system for putting all your tubes and stuff inside. Not everybody likes it, but I think it works really well on an endurance road bike and a gravel bike, especially if you're doing long distance rides. You need supplies, essential spare parts in case you have a mechanical, and having it inside a frame, weather sealed, rather than a saddlebag hanging around below your saddle, I think makes a lot of sense. A nice geometry on the bike as well. It's quite a nimble, sprightly handling bike through the corners. Definitely has some of that sort of race bike vibe and a feel about it, but a bit higher handlebar position, so nice and relaxed on your shoulders and back, so won't give you sore shoulders on a long ride. And good comfort as well from the seat post and frame design, and pretty lightweight as well. The bike I rode was about 7 kilos with a Endurace Di2 group set, so yeah, lightweight, stiff, responsive, a fun bike to ride. If you want an endurance bike that looks like a race bike, then the Cervelo Caledonia is a good option. Updated last year, available in 2 versions, the regular version with external routing and the Dash 5 with fully internal routing, but neatly using a 2-piece area handlebar and stem, and it's a really nice handlebar on this bike as well. The bike has down tube storage, which is increasingly common, and fender mudguard mounts, and it's a sleek aero optimized bike that's as fast as it looks, and definitely one of the sportier bikes in this video, along the lines of the Enve Fray, a bike it reminds me the most of, and also the giant Defy as well. A nice balance of stiffness for responsive sprinting and handling through corners, but also good comfort as well, despite just running a 30mm tyre on the bike you see in the video now. These then are some of my top recommendations for buying an endurance road bike in 2025, but there are quite a few missing from the list, which you probably have noticed, and that's simply down to the fact I haven't ridden these bikes yet. The Cube, the Rose, the Pinarello, the Scott, the Lauf, and a few others. There's also the Trek Domani as well. I have ridden the previous generation of the Trek Domani, which really impressed me a lot, with the comfort in the saddle definitely up there with the best bikes in this video, thanks to that ISO-speed decoupler and down tube storage and spacer wide tyres, so a nice versatile, well-rounded package, but was quite heavy in that previous generation version. The new version of this bike, launched last year, is a step in the right direction and takes quite a chunk of weight out of the frame. But as yet, at the time of making this video, I haven't ridden the bike, and when I do, I'll update the video and include it in my recommendations if it's worth recommending. And what about the Canton Endurace? Well, it's a bike I have ridden, and my review is linked down below, but a bike is hard for me to personally recommend compared to the high standard of endurance bikes I've mentioned so far. On many levels, it does impress. Great value for money, it looks fast, looks very sleek and modern, and you have a 1-piece carbon fibre handlebar and stem. But there are downsides. That 1-piece handlebar and stem does compromise your ability to customize the fit to your requirements. Tyre clearance is limited compared to the other bikes in this video. There are no fender or mudguard mounts, so not versatile as a year-round winter training bike, especially in the UK. But for me, the biggest letdown by far is the compartment on the top tube for storing tools. It both looks pants, having that hatch on the top tube of your fancy carbon fibre road bike, and space inside the top tube, because it's so small, is very limited compared to the generous space you get in a down tube storage compartment on the Cervelo Caledonia or the Enve Fray. So for me, the Canton Endurace, if you can overlook those downsides, it's a great bike, but for me, hard to recommend compared to other bikes, which is why I think it's a bike to avoid and go for one of the other bikes in the video, Giant Defy, Special Roubaix, or the Enve Fray. But what about using a gravel bike as an endurance road bike? What are the best options? Well, handily, I shared my best picks in this video right here, so definitely worth a watch. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting the button right here. But that's all for today. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.